What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 news. Kind of an interesting one this week. Firstly, we do have a couple of updates from Bungie. They talk about accessibility for Last Wish weapons from the Riven's Wishes quests. That's going to get an update for players who don't own Forsaken. And they also talk a little bit about PvP updates, some things that we're going to see in the TWID this week. And Bungie also directly confirmed that we'll get a finale mission for the season. So we'll touch on all of those things, but then there's been a new report talking about Sony and Bungie's relationship, and some recent words from Sony's CEO about operations at Bungie, so that's interesting. Additionally, there's a little bit of drama in the community about a recent ban for a well-known PvE player. Plus, there are a couple of other things to round up in the video. And so, as always, guys, I hope you find this one interesting, and if you do, a rating below very much helps us out on the channel. But without further delay, let's get into it. And firstly, with the reset this week, of course, we got the 4th Riven's Wishes quest. This one basically requires 3 blind well completions. One of them will need to be heroic. And so much like the other Riven's Wishes weeks, it's probably 20 or 30 minutes worth of playtime. Although recently, players have been discussing the fact that Forsaken ownership is actually required in order for folks to craft the Last Wish weapons from Riven's Wishes. And the indication was, of course, that Riven's Wishes are available for all players, so the community saw that as Bungie being a bit cheeky, but Bungie Help have said, since Riven's Wishes were introduced, we've been investigating an issue where non-Forsaken pack owners cannot craft any weapons from Mara's inventory if they unlock a pattern, and this issue is scheduled to be fixed in 2 weeks with update 735, so that's the March update on the 5th. Bungie are indicating that this was never intentional. I guess we'll believe them, maybe? But importantly nonetheless, for any folks who don't own the Forsaken pack, if you have picked up Last Wish weapons, you should actually be able to use the red borders starting on the 5th of March, so that in itself is a positive. In other news though, the D2 team said, with the weekly reset this Tuesday, they adjusted the lobby balancing system for the competitive division to try and improve match quality, and they say we'll monitor and provide updates as we make additional changes. On top of that though, they'll share more details in this week's TWID about other matchmaking insights, along with other updates from the PvP Strike team on Crucible changes, which are coming up on the 5th of March. So a small change to competitive division matchmaking this reset, and plenty more info about PvP updates coming in the future, which we'll get on Thursday. So as always, I'll keep you posted about those. And interestingly, in the TWID last week, something I actually missed, but players had noticed that a new triumph popped up last reset called Closer to the Heart. This is actually related to the finale for Season of the Wish. And Bungie said due to an issue relating to the delay of the final shape, the Closer to the Heart triumph located in the Wish triumph area appeared earlier than intended, and the mission that will complete this triumph will become available later in the season. And of course, it only just occurred to me a couple of days ago that final shape was meant to launch next Tuesday. And so the season timer, I assume, triggered the triumph for the finale in the reset last week. But of course, with the delay, that has been moved back, so kind of a weird one, but nonetheless, there will be a season finale piece of content, but it's simply the case that it will drop a little bit later since final shape is coming in June. Up next though, something that's being picked up by a few outlets now, and this was shared by videogamechronicle.com, with the title Sony President wants Bungie to be better at assuming accountability for development timelines. And Hiroki Totoki, I'm probably saying that name terribly, I do apologize, but that's one of the heads of the gaming division at Sony, and they said there's room for improvement from a business perspective at the Destiny studio. And this was during a Q&A session following Sony's latest financial results briefing, and they were asked for an update on Bungie and whether they had any initiative plans for the studio in the next financial year. And the leader had said that while they were impressed by Bungie's ability as a video game developer, he felt they could make improvements from a business perspective. And so the quote was, "I visited Bungie Studios and had meetings with the management, and I saw that employees working at the studio were highly motivated, showing great creativity as well as impressive knowledge of live services." So positive comments for the developers in general at Bungie. But they go on, "I also felt that there was room for improvement from a business perspective with regard to areas such as the use of business expenses and assuming accountability for development timelines, and I hope to continue the dialogue and come up with some good solutions." Now, when this statement originally came out, there was actually a translation error, and so it wasn't understood that this was being said in reference to Bungie, but Sony have since updated it and clarified that these comments were about the Bungie studio specifically. And yes, most of you guys are probably thinking that isn't entirely surprising, right? We know that there's a lot of great dev talent at Bungie, but as many folks in the community have said, it would seem that most of the significant flaws with content development, planning, future-proofing, and taking on board of feedback in general, it would seem that a lot of those issues are sort of at the top. And obviously from Sony's perspective, while Bungie are capable of making very good content, they're sort of highlighting that Bungie are perhaps spending too much money, taking too long, and with the folks at the top of the company not necessarily assuming the correct accountability for products overall. So again, not a surprising revelation by any means, but the article itself points out that it was reported in December that Bungie's position as an independent subsidiary of Sony is under threat, and that while Bungie continue to operate independently for the moment, Sony do have the option to intervene if Bungie don't meet their targets in the midterm. And given the revenue miss that we heard about last year, the delay for Final Shape, player sentiment at the moment, and what will obviously be a massive reduction in player numbers and revenue for the company, it certainly puts Bungie as it stands in a bit of jeopardy. But that's all we can really say on the subject for the moment. Just a few words from the gaming head at Sony and how they're sort of viewing Bungie currently. But of course, we'll never get the full picture from the outside, at least not in the immediate future, but it will certainly be an interesting year, especially beyond the Final Shape as we see how Destiny holds up with the new content model and things like that. So share your thoughts about it down below. More drama for Bungie here though, and Destiny Bulletin pointed out that Bungie has banned the 4 times world first raid race winner Cruz with no warning or reason, until they shared that they'd actually been banned when they went to sign in. Which isn't a good look for Bungie, of course. It creates more drama in the community. None of us can specifically verify whether any cheating has actually occurred, although we would probably assume that this isn't the kind of player who would cheat in the game, and it shines a light on Bungie's communication around issues like this, because they've got a bit of a rocky past when it comes to controlling cheaters and bans in the game, because we have absolutely seen false bans in the past, while simultaneously seeing a considerable number of cheaters inside of PvP who seem to be getting away with it for long periods of time. So kind of strange how Bungie selects accounts and allocates those resources. But given that this news and the conversation around it probably won't pipe down on its own, not anytime soon anyhow, it does seem possible that Bungie could give an update on that and should at least investigate and verify whether that ban is correct. But once again, give us your thoughts down below. A very final thing right here, but there's going to be a new Cayde 6 Funko Pop available in the Bungie store. It's an exclusive that's going to be dropping in a couple of months. Players can order it already, but interestingly, it includes a new emblem called My Serious Face with a sort of cartoon Cayde 6 on it, which is actually pretty cool. It also says it will be delivered via email on or after April 9th. So there's a bit of speculation, could April 9th potentially be a date for the April update Into the Light? And that certainly does seem possible, as the 9th is a Tuesday, although it is speculative, so we'll just have to wait and see. Bungie had also said that their focus with Into the Light is to touch on existing content in the game that players haven't thought about in many years. That was from the TWAB last week, so exactly what that could mean, we'll have to just wait and see whether they update sort of older story content, or whether it's more activity specific. And who knows, maybe we'll finally get the update for the Garden of Salvation to make the weapons craftable or something like that. I would imagine we would certainly hope there would be a handful of different pieces of content and items in that update, but again, we don't have confirmation about that yet, and we've got a significant update dropping on March 5th, or at least it is significant in terms of mid-season. So I guess we'll get past that, and probably, given the timeline and how soon the other updates will follow, it seems likely that we're going to start getting more information about those future updates from Bungie shortly afterwards. So keep it locked and loaded here for that. But for today, guys, that's what we have to speak about. So as always, I hope this video has been interesting, and if it has, a rating below very much helps us out on the channel. Also be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you posted with more Destiny content, and once again, share any thoughts you may have in the comment section. But for now, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.